Hi, it's Violet, and it's time for you to get everything you want, which, by the way, is already yours. If you're not new here, then you already know this. So, welcome back. And if you're new here, you gorgeous soul, I'm so glad you're here. I knew we would connect at some point. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have an in depth question, you can send me an email at v@violetblack.com. And I wanted to say that I'm making this video because a lot of you loved the last video, Why You Can't Let Them Go. And that was greatly received. And I got a lot of views and quite a lot of messages saying it was really helpful. So I wanted to do a deeper dive once again about getting stuck and not being able to let someone go. So getting stuck in your thinking, getting stuck with someone that's no longer for you, and why you may feel like you can't let them go. And I have to say that I experienced a lot of this before working on myself. Like I would just get really attached and feel like, why isn't this working? And like, why do I have to let this person go? Like, why can't it just work out? And just getting really limited in my thinking. And this was before I started working on my self concept and reprogramming. And it was like all this fear and doubt, like, can I actually do better? Like, do I deserve better? Like, how can I get to a place where I know I deserve better and I can attract better? Because once you start doing that work and you start to become aware, you start to call in a deep and aligned connection with someone. Like the more deeply aligned you are with yourself, the more deeply aligned connection you get with another person, right? You start attracting differently. And this took a lot of reprogramming around like my self-love, respect, getting clear on where I actually have been in relationships, where I actually want to go in relationships, and what I believe I can do in relationships, like who I believe I am. So identity shifting and looking at my shadow side, the repressed things that I didn't want to look at, looking at triggers and healing all that past shit. And just really being honest and being like what happened in, my past relationships and taking full responsibility on the why and how of my part. Like, why did I allow certain things? And what are the feelings and beliefs underneath those things that happened and around them? So now really hear me, like think about that. Like let's not just like gloss by and speed by. Like I think a lot of times we feel like we have issues, but we're just not sure like how to heal them or how to reprogram around that or how to let them go and how to step into a new identity, like identity shifting. And it's like, ask yourself, why did I allow that thing to happen? And what are the feelings and beliefs underneath those things that happened and around them? Because like sometimes what we're really struggling with is the same issue and we keep seeing it in multiple partners because we're not addressing it. And that is like I always say, the worst feeling. You're just like, fucking again, this is happening. Like, why is this happening? It's like doing the South Park blink, you're just like, why is this happening? But I think really, you got to make no mistake about this because people go into relationships thinking like they're going to fill a void. They want that love. They don't know how to give themselves that love and they're looking for it outside of themselves. But I think really relationships are in your life to serve as a mirror for your consciousness, right? Like people are showing you stuff and you can expand your consciousness by how you choose to heal and expand, how you choose to self-reflect and really like work through your stuff, But a lot of people, I think, are like stuck, right? They're looking outward, they're blaming the other person fully and being like, they just don't know how to act. But it's like, yeah, they don't know how to act and you don't know how to fucking act either because like you're in it with them. So it's like you're half the equation. They're mirroring something back to you. And if you would just address that one time and work that shit out, you would not be reliving this like again and again, like the same issues, right? Like, and it's honestly annoying because like, in my mind, I'd be like, I'm the fucking problem. Yeah, it's me. I'm the problem. I'm the issue. Like, to realize that really like piss you off. But then once you take responsibility, you're like, yeah, I'm the problem and I can fucking solve this. So it's like nothing is predicated on someone else doing something different. It's like you and you. So really looking at like, what can I do differently? Like, what is my connection to self, right? Like, how can I be my greatest self, my most empowered self? Like, what am I seeing in this mirror and what can I shift to like fix things, And using it as fuel, using it as a tool to put you in the right direction, right? Like, but don't get stuck in the identity like so many do. Like, how many times have you just like felt so great on social media being like, yeah, that happens to me all the time. Like, this is what's happening. And like, you don't want to be saying that and speaking and spelling that into your reality that this is happening to you and it's always happening to you. Like if it's not what you want, do not fucking say that. And it's like really easy to get immersed in that identity and that behavior, and it doesn't serve you and you don't want it, but you keep talking about it, and you're going to keep seeing it. Like 3D is going to keep showing it to you, but I want you to be so fucking empowered. That's why I make these videos. Like I want you to be unbothered because you're like, you know what? I got it. I'm responsible for me. I can shift this entire fucking dynamic as one person, and you usually can, right? So getting into your power and just shifting your identity like easily. I want you to be like, I'm going to choose the realest version of me. I'm going to choose the healed version of me. I'm not going to live in these defense mechanisms anymore. You're going to learn safety. You're going to reprogram safety. And then you're going to attract people that also provide that safety for you, that can hold you. And your nervous system is going to relax and you're going to heal. And you're going to feel more like the best version of yourself. And you're going to be like, wow, this is the right thing because like I worked on myself. So I want to run through some things that I've noticed on my journey that you may notice as well. And sometimes just noticing and getting clarity and then like simply observing them and then working through them, it can be enough to shift it. Like healing isn't always the hardest thing. Like you don't have to go to the corner and keep fucking picking it up and then putting it back down and picking it up. Like you can leave that identity behind. You can be like, okay. And even if you can't immediately leave it behind, you can get to the point where you're like, I am going to leave this behind at some point. I am working through this. Like I don't need these defense mechanisms. I don't need these triggers. I don't need these patterns anymore. Like this isn't really a part of the fabric of my soul, right? Because you're infinite stardust. Like you don't need certain things, but we hold on to them because we actually think like our emotional state and the things we're doing are us. And a lot of times it's really not. So you're going to notice and you're going to think about and you're going to recognize, because like a lot of times we go into a chaotic state, but then it reorganizes, right? Like you keep working through it. It's kind of like Tetris. You keep clearing things off, you heal things, you work through it, you process things, you let it go, and you self-reflect. And then Spirit's going to show you downloads, right? So you can step into a better version of yourself. Like, okay, I got that. All right, so next time I'm going to try this. Or, oh, okay, like I didn't notice that. So let's drop it down low and catch this flow. Here's some things that you might be experiencing. So like you might not want to let them go because like their energy feels familiar, right? Like, I mean, this is normal. We're having a human experience. Like naturally, you become attached to your partner. Of course you have. And humans seek the familiar and the comfortable. We are such, in a sense, creatures of comfort. Like, especially as the world, and you know what I'm talking about, becomes more crazy and chaotic, we want to stay in familiar territory, right? Because let's be honest, we can only hold so much emotionally and energetically. Like, in the beginning, you might have felt safe with them and you're vibrating so close to one another. And then it's like you have a history, but your frequency might be changing, right? It doesn't matter like who's vibrating higher or lower. Don't make it about like right or wrong or better or worse, but your energy just is different from theirs now. And it may feel familiar still and you don't want to let it go, but it's just time to let it go, right? You're moving into a different frequency. And then with so many things in life, it's not always fun to start over, right? Like who the fuck wants to start over? I don't like starting over. I don't know about you, but it's like, oh, why do we have to start over, right? But like, again, you have a choice. You can view it either as excitement for what you can create or receive, or fear it and be uncomfortable and be like, I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know, and be in a fearful state, right? Like I used to work sales jobs, and it's funny because once you hit like the 3-year money mark, you'll be like, oh, it's flowing so easy. Money's coming in. Like everything's good. People know who I am. Like clients know who I am. I know the drill. I know what I'm doing. But like, let's be real. In the corporate world, there's often a lot of people that are just miserable, projecting their bullshit onto other people, energy vampires, people playing games. Like literally, this is a place where you go to make fucking money. And there's people there that have just unresolved trauma and are acting like fucking ridiculous. And you're like, I'm trying to go to work and make my money and just live my life. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And it gets to the point where it's like, you realize that you can't stay here, right? Because like, they're just acting like this isn't a professional place of employment. It's bullshit. So you're in like the corporate world and you're like, you're contemplating leaving. You're like, oh, I shouldn't probably stay here. I'm going to have to move. And I remember like my first recruiting sales job, people were getting fired like left and right. People had health issues from the stress. Like it was so fake and over the top. And because I wasn't fully awake in my body and in my mind, I could pretend and I could tolerate it. And starting over was like, oh God, I hated being new, like having to say, hi, my name is, and this is what I do. And having to build that trust all over again and prove that I was different from other salespeople and that I was going to stick around. And it was like super stressful. And it's funny though, because once I started like loving myself and being like at home with myself, I couldn't really do sales that weren't aligned, right? Because sales is like you're proving something. You have like a hole in your heart. You're just like, oh my God, I need to prove that like I'm solid and I got to prove this and I got to like show up. And it's like you start to get in love with yourself and solid and you don't give a fuck what people think about you, right? Like you don't want to prove a fucking thing to anyone. Like, you say what it is, either they get it or they don't. And in sales, it's like they're relying on you to be insecure. They're relying on you to feel like you have something to prove. And then like that fire goes out because like you're taking it all in and you don't feel like you have to prove anything to anyone. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's crazy because I could really make an entire series on sales and energy, as well as recruiting, as well as like energetically getting jobs, and like, and I probably will make some of those videos at a later time. But anyway, what I'm saying is no one likes to start over. No one wants to feel like they're behind. No one wants to feel like they're starting at square one. Like, that's such a shitty feeling because there's so much pressure out in the world of like not being at start one, square one, like, you know, so especially if you have beliefs that are like you need to do XYZ by a certain time, like get that bullshit out of your mind. Don't let people tell you you need to be making a certain amount of money or married at this time or have done this or that. Like, as a powerful human, you have a choice. You can see starting over with someone new as stressful or an exciting adventure to get everything you want this time, right? It's like a do-over. It's like a muscle that you're going to work and become stronger at, right? Like, attaching, unattaching, like detachment, getting like unbothered, you know, and your past doesn't dictate your future. Like, you know where you've been. You're going to get clear and intentional on where you want to go and what you want. And clarity is really powerful. I want you to start thinking about every single thing in your reality as the container to get a certain outcome, because that's what your beliefs and models of reality are. You're holding this container, and the container sometimes is shitty and sometimes it is powerful. And it really depends on what you're holding and what you're thinking, because that's what you're going to get back. So what you believe, what you speak, what you feel, law of assumption, you're going to get. So stop speaking things that you do not want into your reality and into your existence. I would say like every foundational level, you're programmed, right? Like, as you move up, you're reprogramming and you're thinking and you're reassessing your identity shifting, and what you believe and what you think you're worthy of getting, who you're being is what you're going to get. So it's not fun to start over, but sometimes you have to see it as an adventure and it has to be done. Like, there's going to be a lot of times you have to start over, you know? And sometimes they keep you in an old identity, right? Like, this is the like hardest one, I think. Like, walking in between worlds and identities can feel really strange, right? Like, you've been creating a new one, but the old potential isn't there anymore, but you're like attached and you're shifting timelines. So it feels strange, like when you're growing, but you're not quite sure like who you are and how you want to show up in the world and what your habits are going to be, you know, how you're speaking about yourself, how you feel about yourself, like where you're at right now. And you feel sort of sad, like leaving your old identity behind, you know, like there's been times I've been driving in my car, like blasting music and thinking like, I'm, you know, going through a crossroads moment and I'm about to turn the corner into a new version of myself and crying and being like, well, the old me died. It's like we get so attached to like the old versions of ourselves, right? And we're nostalgic as human beings because there's so much uncertainty. So we cling to what we know and what we have. And it's natural and it's normal. But where it becomes a problem is when we stay in a place we're no longer needed, right? Like with someone or something, we vibrated out of alignment and it starts to get uncomfortable. And it's like this human experience is a journey. We're going to leave jobs. We're going to get jobs. We're going to meet people. We're going to leave people. They're going to leave us. People are going to die. And yet we don't let it flow through the view, right? Because we cling to things. We don't want to be uncomfortable. And usually the universe will kick you the fuck out. It's like, yo, you got to go, right? Like it'll make that person hurt you so bad that you have to move on, or that job will lay you off. And then it's like being on the diving board of life. And then you just get pushed off into the water and you're like, okay, I'm fearful, but in the back of your mind, you know how to swim, right? Like you can trust yourself and you'll figure it out. Like you weren't born yesterday. This is not your first rodeo. So step into the new version of yourself, right? And I know it can feel like strange, but we have to embody new identities to get where we want to go, right? Like new behaviors, new beliefs, new thoughts, new actions, new words, and receive a new reality. Like the same thing just begets more of the same thing, right? Like, and you never lose anyone or anything. Something new will always enter the space. Like this is an abundant universe. You are abundant. Like the person will come, the job will come, the money will come. Everything's always finding its way to you. And then it can also feel scary to move on from them because maybe you thought they were forever. Maybe they were your long-term partner, or maybe you conquered things together, you know, and it made you feel like the best version of yourself at points. And you got into this flow and now you have to explain things all over again. But use this opportunity to create safety in your nervous system and see this as an adventure, right? Like you're practicing a muscle and you're making it stronger. Like it's part of the path. Like there is no way around it. Even though it feels scary, you have to move on from them, right? Like, because it's kind of exciting versus scary, because the people you attract get better. This is universal law, because everyone in your connections is a reflection of you and who you're being. I once had a client who had high levels of anxiety, and he kept saying like, it's scary, and I kept thinking, why is it scary? And he couldn't tell me why. He just kept saying it's scary. Like, he just had a foundation where like certain things were, it's scary. So ask yourself next time you're scared, like, what belief has you scared? And like, usually it's tied to feeling overwhelmed or being uncomfortable or not believing in your power, right? Like, because believing something is scary doesn't make it scary. Like, what's the belief and the feeling under being scared? Like, shifting happens when you confront the why. And like, oftentimes when I ask my client, why do you feel scared? It's like, oh, because I'm so uncomfortable, or oh, like I'm overwhelmed, or like, oh, it was always back to nervous system regulation and not believing in your power to create safety within your body and within your mind. That's all it ever really came back to when I was talking to them. And I know you're also thinking you're not sure how to reprogram your beliefs to call in a new partnership. Like, and it's funny because I'm working on a course right now with foundational principles that will really make you unfuckwithable. Like, when you want to call someone or something new into your reality, you need to investigate your self-concept. You need to see how you're seeing yourself and how you're showing up in the world and what you believe that you deserve. And then you need to look at shadow work, all of those feelings and things that you don't want to look at, all of the triggers, and really work through the why and start becoming more aware of why you're behaving that way. And then healing past patterns and pain. There's so many different ways to heal, but really ultimately when I think about healing, I think about processing, and I think about telling the best story and then putting it away and not picking it up again, you know? Because like a lot of people just want to pick it up and put it down and pick it up and put it down, and it doesn't make any sense. So then comes reprogramming through subliminals. Our minds are programmed from the moment that we're born. Every second of every day, the music, the TV, the media, it's all bullshit, all of it. And it's like you're thinking a lot of things that you think are true and they're not even true. They're just illusions. So you have to consciously, consistently decide to reprogram through subliminals. You want more love, you need to use a subliminal. You want to have a better self-concept, use a subliminal. You want to attract more money, use a subliminal. Like, look at the past and make peace with it. Create that space energetically and get clear and intentional on what you want and what you will accept now, right? And this is a great place to call your power back, because your power is hidden there. It's hidden in the beliefs that are holding you back. And that's where your power lies. And you might also be scared you're not good enough to get what you actually want. Like, right? Everyone has this fear. And it's a simple choice. Like, did you reincarnate on this planet to just be treated like shit? No, I don't think you did. You reincarnated to get everything that you want. Like, look at why you don't feel good enough. Are you hearing your parents' voice masquerading as your own? Do you have ideas about how it should be? And because you haven't done certain things, you make your self-esteem and self-love predicated on those things? Because that's a fucking illusion, and you're suffocating and killing your spirit slowly by holding yourself to these insane fucking standards. Yes, I'm yelling a little bit in my house, but you know what I'm saying. Are you scared that you're going to get it and fuck it up? Now listen very carefully, because you cannot ruin anything that is yours. The right person will be right for you, and there's nothing that you can do to ruin it. Nothing. Even when you struggle or you think you fucked up, you got to remind yourself there's nothing you can do to ruin what is for you. It just doesn't work like that. And that belief is going to stop you and is going to fuck you up and like suffocate you in a bad way, because you're going to be scared, and you cannot be your authentic version when you're living in fear. Like, you are good enough for everything that is for you, and it will be for you regardless of what happens. And that's something like, that is a foundational belief that you need to adopt if you want to get out of a state of fear. And I know you think you have a history. So this one, like, the histories, maybe they helped you get through hard things, and you have to see it again like an adventure that you shared a moment in time, and most things don't last forever, right? Sometimes just a brief moment on your timeline of adventure. And history is a part of our identity, and that's where it becomes like really hard, right? Like, you made jokes with them, you shared moments, you shared memes, and like, once you move on from them, those things will still come into your reality, and you'll be like, oh my God, I'm reminded of them and it hurts like fuck, and like they're not here. But you're going to build a new history with someone, or by yourself if you're choosing to be alone. Like, history feels like safety in all of the ways that you are you. And I know that it can just feel like you're going to miss them, and you are going to miss them, and that's part of the process, but you're going to build a new history. You're You're going to build new memories, right? Like, and you'll always have that old history, and it will fade over time and it will soften and it won't feel so hard, but you have to move forward and make new memories. And I know that here's another one. You doubt whether you're better off without them. This happens a lot when you're in an abusive relationship, right? Like, we suck as humans being excited about the unknown. We're not excited about it. We're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Like, is it going to be amazing? Or is it going to be better? Is it going to be awesome? Is it going to be terrible? Like, we suck at ambiguity as humans, right? Like, so we do the hokey pokey, like you're watching them treat you badly, but then you're like, oh my God, but he also does all this good, or she does all this good for me. But then we get confused, right? And people will show you, because we're mixed in how we feel about ourselves. They'll reflect back love and they'll mix it with abuse, right? Because this is what your mental is like. You're loving to yourself and you're not loving, right? Like, one minute it's like, oh my God, I'm doing so good. And the next minute you're like, oh my God, I fucking hate that part of myself. Or like, I don't want to claim that part of myself, or I don't like that. And that's what your reality will show you, right? Like, love mixed with abuse, sadly, is just a trauma bond. And that can be like hard in itself to realize, oh my God, it's a fucking trauma bond. Like, you're sad because you thought like, oh my God, I had something real. Like, this is just how love is. Oh no, baby, that's not how love is. And that was just a trauma bond. Like, we've all, most of us have had to go through that, right? Like, you don't want that at all. Like, you shouldn't have love mixed with abuse. And the only thing that happens is you get bonded deeper until it's like horrible and you feel like you can't get out. And there's so many energetic cords and you're just trying to get out. And you need to get out and heal. Work on, why this happened. Often it's a lesson in self-love, getting out of codependency, knowing that love doesn't have to go with abuse. Like, there will be people that you'll meet who will be kind. They will hold you. I remember my ex calling me dumb bitch. And here I was making $200,000 a year at my 9 to 5, paying for everything while he was drunk at 10 a.m. in the morning and wouldn't take responsibility for anything he was doing. I remember being so fucking drained. I remember I was drained to the point where I had cancer again after beating it for 24 years before that. And I was so disappointed in myself. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Is this really your life right now? And the universe was going to teach me a lesson. The universe was like, you're also going to get laid off from your job. And you're going to learn how to be on your own. You're going to heal all of this stuff, or you're going to repeat it again. You're going to get fucking dragged, because that's what the universe does. You're going to keep seeing the same thing until you work on your shit. And I had no more to give, right? Here I was, like, abuse, cancer, no job. I was like, my daddy told me I could do bad alone. I don't need this. And so the moral of this lesson is, you are going to be better off without them. You got this. You got to choose you in every view. You got to choose peace. You got to choose your health. If you're with someone and they're making you sick and you're having a lot of anxiety and you have signs of an unregulated nervous system like anxiety, and you can't sleep and you're having like digestive issues, you're on a one-track path to somewhere fucking bad. And that does not include a place that has like optimal health. So get out. If you're with someone who's abusing you, get out. If you're with someone who won't take responsibility and all they do is talk, they're fucking delusional, and so are you. Like, and this is a hard pill to swallow, but I promise you it'll be better. You'll just get out, you'll be fine, and you won't just be better. At some point, you'll be doing amazing. You'll be thriving. You'll have your glow up. Like, I remember spending my birthday crying and staring at the wall like a week after the breakup, and then going to get the cancer out of my body and healing, and then manifesting like $20,000 and a new like connection. The universe is going to show you are way better without them. Like, if things are stuck now, you're going to start fucking flowing. I promise you, because that's what happens, right? Like, sometimes people block your blessings, and that's the truth. And I would say here are the last two. So you've outgrown them and you're hoping they're going to grow too, but it doesn't seem to be happening, right? Like, this has happened to me with so many partners. Like, we would meet at a certain level and I would take classes. I would examine my behavior. I would self-reflect. I would yearn for more. I would do everything I could to grow. And I was just genuinely curious about who I was, where I'm going, like learning about life. Like, how can I be better at life? Like, how can I have more peace and happiness? I had this like thirst for knowledge, and being with people who had no personal development. They didn't want to take any responsibility for their actions. And I was like, okay, this is becoming a turnoff. Like, you're stuck, and like, let's be honest, if you're stuck and you don't want to grow, then like, you're just dying basically. And it's not your responsibility to push anyone to do anything. If someone doesn't have the passion to grow and be genuinely curious, then like, you're going to outgrow them and you're going to have to move forward. And it can be hard to leave people behind, right? And it's not a matter of ego. It's not a matter of like, I'm better or they're worse, or like, no one is anything. You're just simply, you went in different directions. Like, you're growing and they're not. And maybe they're going to grow a lot more later. Who knows? Like, I remember I once rejected this guy and he's like, "Oh, it's your loss." And his ego was so hurt. He tried to hurt me, but I'm not mentally programmed like that. Like in my mind, I'm like, it's no one's loss. We simply just didn't need to be connected anymore. Nobody lost anything. Like that is a fucking weird story. Like in my mind, I'm thinking like that's a strange thing to say. Like it's weird that your models of reality think that somebody lost something. We just our paths converged and then they went different directions. Like nothing happened. You don't have to everything doesn't have to end badly. Like that's how you know when people have trauma that they haven't worked out. Like you don't have to fucking flip out and block people and go psycho and throw a tantrum like you're 5 years old. It doesn't have to end badly. You could just have a conversation and then just like go your separate ways, you know? Like, and I remember it was really because like he kept doing manipulative things and lying. And then I would ask a question and call him out and he would say the opposite. And it was just like he was doing things to motivate me to push me in the direction and make decisions that he wanted me to make. But you know, the thing is, and if you're listening to this and you've been abused, is like the biggest game masters are the ones who have been in abusive relationships but don't play. I don't play. I just end it. Like that's it. It's not a game I'm going to play with you. So if you know, you know. But it's like, yeah, it's not working for me. And I remember just getting so mad and being like, you're just like everyone else. But again, when you're solid in who you are, someone being ignorant and in bullshit trying to tell you about yourself doesn't phase you. Like it doesn't matter what you think. To me, to you, I may be like everyone else. If that's a story you want to tell, then go for it. But I'm just me. I'm just doing what's best for me. So it's like, you can tear me down. It doesn't really bother me, you know, like, and what people think of you should be no importance to you. Like, you need to just always be choosing you, always be growing, doing what is best for you, you know, regardless of whether or not someone freaks out and like rages or whatever. It's like, let them be on their own journey. You're on your own journey. Like, if someone doesn't have basic communication and basic respect, like, you also need to work on you because you shouldn't be a resonance for this. Like, it takes two to tango. And then lastly, you feel responsible for them because you live in codependency, thinking, oh, I'm going to be a ride or die or a pick Misha. Like, and somehow you think, oh, I'll be, you know, finally worthy for the first time in my life. But this is the worst one. You want to be chosen so badly, you'll abandon yourself to be chosen. But the crazy thing about this is that when you actually choose yourself, people start choosing you too. People are going to reflect everything back to you. It's this simple. Like, if you're obsessed with yourself, people will be obsessed with you too. If you're focused on them and you're like thirstier than the fucking Sahara Desert and you're needy, then you're going to repel them. It's like very simple to see these things when you once you know them and you watch them in play, and everything is about connection, like connection to self. You're putting yourself first. You can solve a lot of issues by just choosing yourself. And the right people will come into your life when you put yourself first and you choose yourself, because this is alignment energy. This is what people don't understand in relationships and when they're looking for a partner. Like, you're out there being desperate and needy and like wanting something. And the more you want something, the harder it is to get. The less you care about something, the easier it is to get. That's just universal law, because you smother it with your energy. You put it on a pedestal, you put it separate from yourself, and then it feels like you can't get it. And that's not the way to go. The best thing you can do is choose yourself and get into alignment energy, right? Like the moment I let go and I was like, no, I'm just going to choose me. Money came, a new connection came, my business started really flowing. Everything is predicated on you putting yourself first and choosing yourself. Look outward less. What you want is within. The reflection in 3D is only showing you the direction. So I'm going to leave you with that. I love you. I love you so much. Thank you for subscribing, liking, and listening. I see you. This human experience is wild. As you can tell from my channel, I've had a lot of experiences, but I've also learned a lot. So I know you're learning a lot, and I know you're doing the best that you can. So I love you and I see you, and I need you to go have the most amazing day. You already have the answers within. So choose you in every view, because this is how you live your best life now. So go live your best life and let no one and nothing stop you. And if you have a question or you want to work with me, send me a message at v@violetblack.com. You can work with me on an hourly basis. I don't have minimums. I look forward to supporting you because I want you to live your best life. Until next time.